Welcome to the Organizational Maneuverability Radio Show, defying gravity so your team can soar at altitude, with host Marshall Goldsmith, Executive Coach Randy Swaim. Executive Coach Randy Swaim welcomes you to our Organizational Maneuverability Podcast Radio Show. Very welcome to have you here. Those of you that have heard our shows before know a little bit about me and stuff, and just welcome you to be hearing this. And so just want to kind of mention that. As you know, I'm a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and I'm also a master level neuroplastician with ION, Institute for Organizational Neuroscience, and NPN Hub over in Europe. And so an honor to be here. And I'll tell you what, for today, I'm very honored to have a guest on today that he and I have actually had a little bit of alignment in our journeys and everything. And but I want to just welcome Michael Sasse as a guest on today's show. And Michael, welcome to the show. And I'll tell you what, I'll let you take a minute or two and introduce yourself.
Oh, thanks, Randy. It's super excited to be on the show with you today. When you reached out, it was something that was pretty cool and encouraging, that I had an opportunity to kind of share some of the things I've done in my career as well as talk with you, which we have a lot of alignment on. So right off the bat, there's things that both of us probably have to do with the concept. No two ways about it. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead. For sure. Yeah, definitely. Michael Sasse. I go by Mike. Only my mom and sisters call me Michael.
Okay.
I have
when you're a kid and they say your entire name, it kind of makes you go, "Uh-oh, what did I do?"
In trouble. Yeah, 100% in trouble. Yeah. So if it goes to Michael Frederick, I know I'm probably going to be in my bedroom for a while. So
yeah, understand.
So a little bit about me. I spent prior to my professional civilian career, I spent 9 years in the Marines. So post college, joined the Marine Corps. In aviation, an aviation junkie, went to Embry-Riddle. It was an aviation school down in Florida, and always just really, really enjoyed everything about aviation as a whole. So I worked on CH-53 helicopters, got to crew them for a little bit, got to see the world in a whole bunch of different ways. A super fun experience for me. And then as I started to think about the exit plan, when my wife and I have been married 21 years. We have a daughter who's 16. When it was time that we wanted to start a family, I decided I wanted to get out of the military. I didn't want to spend time deployed in a way while trying to raise a family. So I made the jump and ended up jumping into the corporate world for United Airlines. I have a business background, so a business major, finance person, MBA. That was where I wanted to spend my time. I like the problem solving and the challenges of financial planning and analysis, as well as the business world. So got to do a whole bunch of things, big jobs along the way, but I spent about 16 years at United doing a number of things. One, all sorts of labor planning, labor strategy, labor alignment, operational planning, strategy, design. Got to have a lot of involvement with flight attendant staffing and strategy and scheduling, which hits the news quite often, as well as a lot of the ground side stuff. So eventually, last year, about a year and a half ago now, the May timeframe, I started getting an opportunity to go over to the general aviation side. So I wanted to be able to see all aspects of it. So now I work for Signature Aviation as a vice president of workforce optimization, equipment, and continuous improvement. And that's where I'm at now. And here I am to talk a little bit more about some of that stuff.
Well, I tell you what, that's cool. And I tell you what, you have my compliments on your financial expertise and all that. I jokingly, but it's truthfully, when I was an honor graduate with my MBA, but the only course I didn't get an A in was I got a B+ on financial accounting. So you have my compliments on that. So
thank you. Yeah, I don't love accounting either. I mean, I love finance and numbers, but yeah, accounting is a different breed, man. Like,
it is. Yeah, it is.
You know, a lot of different stuff there, but yeah, totally appreciate that.
Well, listen, Mike, it's totally wonderful to have you on the show today. And I know you're going to be bringing a few concepts and with what you're going to be talking about really are some factors that really are key when you're talking about leading teams in a stressful challenging scenario or environment, kind of thing. And so it's very aligned with organizational maneuverability and the concept we're talking about and everything. But I just, some of the aspects that you are going to be bringing today are very applicable to that. And let's face it, a lot of times in business, not everything is rote academic. And that's what a lot of people sort of forget. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, Mike, I'll let you just go ahead and initiate into, because I think you were saying there were basically 3 key aspects that you were going to bring, and I welcome them. And so go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I always like to kind of start some things when it comes to mentoring and giving back, and what you've learned and what you've grown along the way. If you're willing to give back, you're willing to then grow the organization. And so I've impressed that upon those in which I've led. I've led very large groups, both in the military, leading big maintenance departments, as well as going into the corporate world, leading big business departments. My last role at United had, almost 300 total people around the globe I was responsible for. So,
wow,
having mentorship and leadership capabilities are important. And I learned that from the military. I learned that from the Marine Corps. And that was allowed me to be able to transition to a place that was super helpful. And so a lot of the things I get from people when they ask, hey, Mike, like, how did you get here? Like, how did you become an executive? How did you become a managing director? How did those happen? And the first thing I always say is, well, I had help.
You know what? That is key. Yeah.
It is key. I had help, and I always rely on those people. So the first thing I always say is, even before you think about career progression, your network is absolutely crucial to both your mental health and wellness, as well as your ability to continue to be a good leader and grow within your career, both professionally and personally. And so having help and understanding who you can go to was critical for me. And there's a number of people along the way that I still talk to this day, both from my military past as well as my professional career, that I rely on often just to hear their voice and just get encouragement. And outside of that, from the professional side, my wife as well. My wife's got a big career, and we talk a lot, and I get a lot of information from her. So that family nucleus was important. But right off the bat, it is the approach to your career, and then how you handle it, and breaking down things into 3. I'm a big, 3's my number, right? I like to keep it smart, clear, concise, and simple. And so when I've always thought about my work and what will make me a good leader, I broke it down into these 3 categories, and they're very simple. And the first one is, will I like it? And like once again, when you said like this Rhodes Scholar kind of super academic perspective, I don't think I've ever read anywhere where it says, like, when it comes to the first thing that you care about your job, is it as simple as, do you even like the work at all, regardless of the title? And so for me, I always sought out things that I like. I like numbers. I like complex problem solving. I like a fast-paced environment. I like that stuff. So if I'm not involved in something like that, I'm going to burn out. I'm not going to be happy. And so if you like the work, you're going to be even such a better leader and partner and role model. And so, for example, I like the things in the financial planning space. I like being able to lead big teams and be able to give back. I don't like, though, labor relations, so you would never find me like looking for a role in labor relations. I would never go there. Or safety, like, safety is important. I understand the key components of it, but I don't like it. And so that was important to me. On the second front, it is, I always have to learn. And if I'm not learning, then I'm not growing and I'm not getting better. And it's not to the point where I say, hey, look, I get to a place in my career where I've learned everything. I'm the smartest person in the world. No, not at all.
You just don't see what you can actually accomplish.
Correct. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if I get to a place where I'm just burnt out from what I'm learning in that role, I got to think about the next thing. And I always ground myself in this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you have my total compliments there, because from a neuroscience aspect, one of the things that I kind of point out to people that they got to avoid is a term that I use called the dopamine fix. And dopamine is a chemical that your brain releases to feel applauded and honored and everything. And what so many people in our societies do is, when they feel that, they just kind of stop. Hey, I've done everything. You know what? And you know what? If that's your vision, your vision is too short. And it's very aligned with what you're saying. You have my compliments. Keep going.
Thank you. Like learning is key to me. My wife was always like, you're always reading something, you're always saying something, you're always getting involved. It's like, yeah, I'm constantly trying to learn and figure things out. And one of the, I've heard a quote, this is probably recently within the last 12 years. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that everywhere. And it is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And like that, like resonated with me so much, because if you think you're, for one, it comes across as arrogance. I don't want to be that person, but also you're not surrounding yourself with people that are going to challenge you. And so you need to find a new room to get into so that you can learn so much more. And so to me, I use those things in my mind to say, all right, if I'm the one only talking here and I don't want to be in that room. I need to figure out a place to go to be able to continue to learn. And then lastly, and this is super important, Randy, very important for me, is gratification. Like, am I gratified by my work, my approach? And what gratification is to me is seeing people that I've had a chance and the honor to work with get promoted and grow and do great things and look back and say, I had an influence, a small one. Those people did all the work, but I was there to help them along the way, maybe nudge them or be an advocate for them. That's super gratifying for me. So those are some of the approaches that I take as it relates to my work, who I am, and the way I am as a leader.
That's awesome. And you have my compliments. And I'll just tell you, I think you and I kind of chatted before, and I mentioned that my autobiography was published on Amazon back in June. And it's interesting because what you just said is a key central aspect of my journey. Because one of the things that I mentioned in there is that the true leadership growth thing that I experienced and became in my journey was because of the people that I served with in the Air Force. And I served with some of the most incredible leaders. And it's not from anything they told me, but it's something that I observed in how they did what they did and how they interacted with people, how they envisioned, how they built synergy within the squadron and the team and all that. And it's kind of very aligned with that kind of what you're just saying there. You're right, because it's not just about how you're selling yourself. It's about that aspect of it and who you're truly becoming. And I will just say this too, that with what you said is I was the first, when I got hired by CityFlight, which CAE bought around 2001 and stuff. I was chosen as the very first, it's called the revalidation type rating examiner. And they, what this is it was back in the European days before the JAA came into be, when it was before EASA came into be, back when JAA was just before it became all unified and all that. I was the authority rep for all of our European programs in the company. And to be able to go with communicating and connecting with people in different environments, different countries, different whatever, that is huge. And it's very aligned with some of the stuff that you were saying where, how you really grow that and how you become that and all that. So you totally have my compliments on that. And there's just, I was actually commended by the company a few times for how I did that and everything. And it was kind of amazing. And, but I will say this, that sounds like you've done some of that same stuff to do. And so let me ask you this, just as a question, with the things that you just brought up and everything, with some of the people that you have led and stuff, where did you find, it may be a struggle within yourself or maybe a struggle within some of the people that you've led? How did that show up with the three things that you're talking about there? Where have you seen in your journey, either within yourself sometimes or with somebody else, where have you seen the real struggles?
Yeah, the not within myself. What's funny is,
and with the way you're coming across, I totally believe what you just said. Yeah, I don't think it is within you. So go ahead.
It wasn't within myself. I wrote that down. As a matter of fact, this is kind of funny. Like, I actually wrote that down as I was exiting the Marines, and I was going into a career, and I was like, I really love being in the Marine Corps. And I don't know what to expect out of the corporate world. So if I'm going to sit down and look for a job, I'm going to try and take some level of a cerebral approach, even though it maybe doesn't come across as super cerebral, but it's just like, do you like the work, Mike? Find something you like to do. Like my mother would tell me this all the time. If you like what you're doing, is it really work? I'm like, no, it's not. It's fun. That's what it is. Right. So from the mental perspective, I was like, I got to find things I like. And look, as a kid, I was, writing down baseball stats and trying to learn how this average would change and project home run totals. So I liked that stuff. So I knew what I wanted to do. But what I have found is, though, with those in which you led, is that they have taken no time to think about themselves, about how they should plan their trajectory. They are so used to doing things for everyone else, or just showing up and starting to just work or do whatever. And they're waiting
sort of everything just becomes academic in their mind.
Yes. 100%. And then they sit around, they do their work, and they're waiting for someone to walk up to them and just tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, I think you should be the next person. You should be promoted. You should go do this. And look, maybe that happens to some people. Sure. But it's typically because you've done things to be able to get people to notice you. And, along the way, I've always heard this, and this is the struggle that I've heard, especially when it comes to career progression or maneuvering yourself within an organization, and how you can be a person of influence to be able to help direct the business in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I've always heard it's all about who you know. It's all about who you know, man. It's all about Mike. It's all about who you know. And I disagree with that 100%. It's actually about who knows you. And
knows the real you.
Yes.
How do they experience it? Yeah.
Exactly. And if people know you, then they're going to start exuding that confidence in you. And so most people don't have a plan. They just come to work and just start doing things, and then they expect, and that's dangerous.
So much of our society, and I think you kind of sense this out there too. So much of our society, people in their mind, the whole focus is just on how can I get other people to just capitulate to me and do what I want. And you know what? That's totally antithetical to what you're talking about and what I believe with. That's not leadership. And that's so you're right on that. The just kind of going through the motions is not what you want. And so just keep.
Not at all.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Not at all. Like it's you don't have to have a title to be a leader.
You know what? Sometimes you got to lead up.
Got to lead up. Yeah. Exactly. Look, if you are a genuine person and you care about whatever it is that you're responsible for, then you exemplify that in all things that you do. You don't have to work in finance to be financial. You don't have to work in operations to be operational. You don't have to be a vice president to be a leader.
Yeah.
You have to have the mindset to want.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just kind of share one little thing? And this is actually in my autobiography, but it's very aligned with what you just said from my journey. Because this was back around, holy cow, this is around 1980. This was about 1988 kind of thing. So a number of years ago, but I was picked to be the site manager at Griffiths Air Force Base for our flight ops area. And the manager had gotten into some struggles, kind of thing. And there was a lot of dysfunction in the people that worked for him. And I got a call from the director of operations and I was at home, and he said, Randy, would you mind having a chat? And I said, well, is this on the record, or is this just you and I chatting? And he said, well, right now, he said, technically it's on the record, but I will not share anything without your permission. And I said, okay, fair enough. And the bottom line is, when we were sort of talking about it, he appreciated kind of what I, kind of shared about leadership and all that, but it went quiet for about 20 seconds. And then he said like this, he said, Randy, what would you do down there? And I told him two things about what I would do differently. And he went, wow, that's unique. I said, I know it is. And he was quiet for about 15 seconds. And then he said, Randy, would you go down there and do that?
Wow. Cool.
I said, are you asking me what I think you're asking me? And he said, yes, I am. And I said, does he know about it? And he said, not yet. He said, I'll call him next. I said, well, I'll tell you what, you go, Chuck, you go have all the conversations you need to have. And then if you think it's ethical and right and call me back, yeah, I'll do it. And I was promoted to be the manager of our detachment over there and everything. And I was because I was doing a lot of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
No two ways about it. And about 3 months after I became the manager, they posted a document, and in the document they said, quote, and I'm just quoting it exactly. It said, Randy took a problem site and turned it into the showcase of the company in minimum time.
Nice.
Because I applied things in the way you're talking about it, which is very different and all that. So what you're saying is very valuable, and it's very key for people that are leading to realize. And so you have my compliments on what you're bringing out. Well, let me ask you this, and let you just sort of explore it for a few minutes here. And that is, when you look at a team that you're maybe leading, which I know you're leading a team and stuff like this, and some of this may be some things you've done with your team members and all this kind of stuff already, I don't know. But when you think about really developing your team going forward to be able to really enhance what you're talking about and to really multiply that and make it part of the culture of your team, what are some things you need to be thinking about, and what do you need to do as the leader to make that really be developed within your team as you go forward? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So a couple things. One, back to my rule of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Always look at this, and it's an annual process for me. This is never just a one-time only, knife edge, it's over with. It's continual. When I take over a new department, I do this, and then every year I do it again. And it is, first off, it's all about personnel. So like, people make things happen. So your people matter. And so the first thing I ask is, what do I have? Who do I have? And what can they do? Where are we at? Whether it's skill set, whatever those requirements are, experience, whatever the case may be. I need to know, what do I have? That's one. Number 2, what are they capable of doing? Yeah. So when you ask people their capability, sometimes they limit themselves. So you need to be able to pull it out of them. So when you start seeing their capabilities and understanding the pure capabilities that they have, then you can start really rolling forward. And lastly, it's what's missing. What do I need? And so what do I got? What are they capable of? What am I missing? And it allows me to be able to have a real understanding of leadership across the board. So when I have a team, and if they are all really good at doing something, I need to know what they're capable of do more of. So some people are really good at being able to publicly speak. And others are really good at being able to collect information and manage their team so that they are meeting the expectations. And then you could have somebody that's always exceeding. I want to be able to say, if I have that, what are each of those people capable of? And is the person that's always exceeding capable of bringing those people that are comfortable with the mediocrity to be better? And so if that's missing, is it training? Is it mentorship? Is it process? That's how you can envelop. And as you learn a team and they grow, you understand their capabilities even more. And then you understand what's missing to be able to guide them. I use that framework for everything.
And what's missing to guide them, like you said, but also what they can accomplish with that, and how they can kind of develop that, as you're saying correctly.
And for them to see it, oh my God, I can see what I'm capable of. And when you take that limits off, people are like, whoa, I didn't even know. And so, one of these stories I like to share, I'm a storyteller here. So maybe.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, because that brings out the picture.
Yeah, I just actually had a coaching session with one of my directors here recently where, I said, look, when I was in college, I had this professor that I turned in this term paper, and handed it in, and the next day handed it back, and all he wrote on it was, is this your best work? And I was like, oh, okay. So I went back, did it again, brought it back the next day, came back the next day, and he's like, hey, is this really your best work? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So I'm like, wow, man. All right, fine, whatever. Came in. I spent the whole night doing this all over again. Handed it in. A week later, he comes back and he goes, this was great work. This is what I expected. And by the way, I didn't even read the first 2 copies. He saw something in me I didn't even know.
And you know what? True leaders do sense that. It doesn't mean you're controlling people and just trying to make them go do this, but your awareness is something with what you just said, totally true. Yes. Is that, they see things in the person that even that person doesn't totally realize.
They put limits on themselves.
Yeah, they do.
You know?
Yeah. And you know,
So,
it's interesting too. It's amazing. Have you ever had in your journey of growth, have you ever been in a situation where your leader or manager walked up and said, well, you can do this. You got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So have I.
Absolutely.
And
you know, one of the terms I like to use, a sentence I like to use is, I believe in you.
I've said that a few times with different people that were working for me.
And their reaction is just like, oh man, okay.
What? No, really? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the limitations have just evaporate. So they're like, okay, my leader believes in me. Mike believes in me. Okay, I think I can do this. I don't have to give him any guidance. You know, look, man, I believe you can do this. I believe you can. And crazy, they do.
Yeah. And you know what? That is so cool. And that is so key with the aspect that we're talking about. And you totally have my compliments. And I know we're coming up on about 4 minutes or so to go and stuff, but let me just let you just share, because you brought some really great points. And I mean, very, very sincerely, Mike, both of just our meeting and getting to know each other a little bit, you totally have my compliments, both on your journey, but also where you are and where you're going, continuing to go. You have my compliments on that. And but let me just let you share anything for the next couple of minutes that you want to leave with them, that you want people to take away from this, and just anything you want on that.
Absolutely. So there's really two things. One, having a level of humility is very important. And you know, it doesn't matter what level you are. If you're a CEO or you're a brand new small unit leader of 3 people, being humble is important. And someone that I just looked up to a great deal, Sergeant Major Chambers, Marine, like intimate Marine to me. I was like, this guy is unbelievable, right? This confidence that he had, always just like right there, but was so humble. And he gave me advice that said,
General Richard B. Myers was that for me.
That was your guy, right?
Yeah. He was my squadron commander from about 1982 to 85, I think, something like that. So I know what you mean.
Sergeant Major Scott Chambers, man, that guy, I just like, he probably doesn't even know it. I haven't talked to him in like 15 years, but you know, that guy was something I try to embody. And he made a statement to me that I just resonated so much. He said, you know what, Sergeant? I was a sergeant. You know what, Sergeant Sasse, you are really, really good Marine, and I enjoy serving with you. But you have something about you that is a little arrogant, and you need to fix it. And he's like, I want to tell you, the Marine Corps was here before you. Damn, we'll be here after. Understand your place. And so I took that. And then it matters to me as it evolved into my corporate career as it relates to words. And what you say matters, and that you're always, always, always on stage, and people are always watching you, whether you realize it or not. So the things you say matter, and the way in which you say them matter more. And so,
and how they experience it, like you're saying, is so
how
key.
they consume that information is important. And I think I even shared this with you. And this is such a small example of something that matters to people, and you have to understand your position. And I was a director, first-time director. I walked through this part of my office, big giant wall up there, and I just said out loud, I don't like the wall. I didn't mean anything by it. And certainly in my subconscious, it was like, that wall is probably going to come down. I don't like it separating, payrolls on the backside and the manpower team was up front. And I walked out of there, and I thought it was benign. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was thinking out loud. When I didn't recognize that my position mattered to a point where people were listening to what I said and took things from it in ways I didn't think about. And as I walked out and left, I was gone in 10 minutes, walked around, said something. I was heading back into my office. There was 6 people sitting out there. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's happening, guys? What are we doing? And immediately there's this big argument. We're like, don't take that wall down. No, leave the wall up. Please, please, please. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Why? And they're like, well, you said you didn't like the wall, so that means you don't like it. So what are you going to do about that wall? And you can't take it down because of this, and you have to leave it up because of that, and you have to take it down for that. And at that moment, I realized what I say matters, and people are listening it all the time. So like, don't leave understanding that matters, regardless of your position, and no matter what you say, people listen to it.
Cool. And I'll tell you what, when you're talking about a leader, that, as you're saying correctly so, what you're communicating is a lot more than just the words you're using. Exactly. You know, and all that is so huge in developing that synergy. Well, you have my compliments, and I know we're getting close to the end here, but I will say this, that Mike, it's been an honor meeting you and connecting with you. It's been an honor having you on the show today. Some very good points that you bring out. And I just want to say that it's an honor to have you. It's an honor to have other people observing the show. It'll be posted, as you know, on my YouTube, on Podcast Business News Network platform that my show is on. And so you have my compliments on what you're bringing to people and how you do it. So really do. Anything just last minute that you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, look, I totally appreciate it, and like honors all mine that I got a chance to be able to meet with you. Connecting with people is cool. I like doing it. It's fun to be able to meet new people each and every day. You can strike friendships out of those things and long-standing business relationships, and so and I'll also start being much more involved with your show, which I didn't even know was out there at this level. So it allowed me to get exposure to other things in ways I didn't think of. So by all means, I appreciate you reaching out and having me be a part of your show. So thank you for that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an honor, and hope you have, and just for those that are watching also, just hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. And Mike, we'll look forward to perhaps connecting again and
sure.
meeting. It's an honor to meet you, my friend. And we're going to go ahead and close out, and appreciate it.
Yeah.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.